Welcome to the What the Fuck Is That podcast, where we ask the age-old question of what the fuck is that? I'm your host, Jess.
I'm Jen.
Did you say yours? You're paused.
I did say mine.
Oh, okay. I was like that meme, but you were paused and it wasn't telling me anything, so I was like, oh no. Or not, clear.
I did say mine, but we can do it again if you need to. Are you recording
we're
on this
good.
or just the...
Oh, fuck me sideways.
It's only like we've been doing a podcast for 2 years.
Don't even bring it up. I'm doing the best I can. It's like, okay.
Oh God, what?
We've been recording. Okay, we've been recording this podcast for 2 years, like people who say they've been together for 2 years, but they've broken up and gotten back together like 6 times.
I like how that's the comparison you make in your head.
I don't know why it's that whole first thought, best thought that I was like, well, damn, I mean, it's not wrong. Not that we've broken up, just we've gotten busy and then had stuff to do. Not that we're together and could break up, but like friendship breakup. I don't know. You talk now.
How did we get from opening this to that?
Would you like me to draw you a picture?
No, that's okay. Your pictures are very scary.
Just like how I go through a mental walk in the park with you.
No, thank you. Your brain is a very scary place to be in.
Like we were recording earlier, and I don't know how we started talking about it, but we started talking about like Disney sequels part 2.
Oh, yeah, because I was watching The Little Mermaid 2. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And, yeah, we started talking about how sequels usually aren't as good as the originals. Little Mermaid 2, though, is great.
It is great. It's one of my favorite sequels. But then my head went, that sexy line.
You need more context, babe.
No, I'm going to take you through the word picture. My head immediately heard Disney sequels and went, sexy lion, which I said out loud because I was like, oh, like Disney sequels. What else is good? I'm like, the Belle Holiday one is good because it fits alone. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, there's some that just suck. Inside Out 2 is okay. And then I'm like, oh, Lion King 2, because the older 2 have been really into Lion King recently. It's their new show and movie all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, there's a couple of like retellings of Lion King. Like right now Mufasa's out. There's Lion King 1.5, and there's like Lion Guard, which my middleist is into. And I'm like, and Lion King 2 with that real sexy animated lion.
I like how that's immediately, though, the first thought that pops in your head.
It's such a universal experience, though, because I know I can just go, you know, that sexy animated lion, and people will go, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
See, that's the problem, though, is that you are accurate, but it's the fact that Disney has done this to us, where they have made characters, animated characters, attractive in different species.
They love a mom with a big booty, some big titties, and an hourglass waist. They fucking love it.
They really do.
They're so good. I
can't get enough of it.
Which, okay, dude, I am trying to find the right guest to have come on to talk about this. Because, by the way, we are looking for guests all the time. We love talking to people. I want to cover deaths in Disneyland. But I need another crazy obsessed Disneyland person to come on. I have so many. I want to do like hauntings and deaths in Disneyland.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
It would be so good, so good. But we need to have the right person on. We need to have the correct aficionado on to appreciate this madness. It would be such a good episode, though, and I really want to do it. So we need to find the correct person. So if you are obsessed with Disney and want to come on the pod, hit a girl up.
There's your chance.
Right
There's
now,
your chance.
right here and now. Beautiful, isn't it? All right, folks. Well, with that, if you liked whatever the fuck this is, be sure to head over to our Instagram. Our Instagram is WTF is that pod. Over there.
Over there.
I got Scottish for a second. All right. Over there, you'll find the link to our Linktree. At our Linktree, you'll find all the places that you can listen to us. And just go ahead and head over there and like and follow and review so that way you can let the podcast algorithm gods know that you like it. And then just take a little screenshot of that. Send it over to us at WTF is that pod. And we will give you a shout out in future episodes. What's even cooler than being a podcast ally? Getting your name shout out on a podcast that you semi-enjoy sometimes. You can also check us out over on Patreon. We do have a couple of little bonuses. And if you're just a really good Samaritan and a really good friend, then you'll head over there. And $3 a month. That's the milk substitution at Starbucks alone. So just one day drink regular milk and you can help us out for just $3 a month. $3. That's crazy. And as always, the very best way to help the podcast is just by word of mouth. So just while you're over at our links, do all the things, share them out to all the people. I really don't have one this time. I'm sorry. I need to find out some more. There will be a better one next time. I promise. And with that, let's get into this week's episode. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Jess.
Have you ever heard of the dating game killer?
The fuck is a dating game killer?
Thank you so much for asking. I'd love to tell you. So, for real life, what do you know about the dating game killer?
I know that it was just put into a movie on Netflix with Anna Kendrick in it. I don't know much beyond that.
So, also, because I love Anna Kendrick, not only did she star in it, it was her directorial debut.
Oh, that's cool. Get it, girl.
I know, right? We love a queen. Slay. Get it. Anyways. It's the only thing slay about this case is Anna Kendrick's interpretation. But anyways, the movie was good. I do appreciate her directorial debut. It was good. I got a little confused knowing the case, what was going on with everything. Mm-hmm. Because if you're going to be doing a semi-fictionalized version of it, i.e. not a documentary, then that's just kind of the way you have to set up, is make it more enjoyable. So I was a little confused what was going on sometimes, but I figured it out. It's good. Check it out. Check it out for yourself.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I need to.
Yeah, I like the way that it's done. Oh, the other thing, speaking of Disney from earlier, it took me forever to realize that the host of the dating game is Tony Hale. Tony Hale is also Forky. So I was watching the show or the movie and I went, who is that? I'm like, oh my God, it's Forky. What?
I love that we recognize actors from animated films that we have just been watching over and over and over from your kids.
Yeah, and again, I love Arrested Development, have watched all of Arrested Development. My brain wasn't like, oh, it's Tony Hill from Arrested Development. It was like, no, that's Forky. Because that's how I work. So back to this awful, horrible case. The dating game killer is exactly what he sounds like. He was on that show called The Dating Game as Bachelor number 1. Bitch actually won the dating game.
Oh?
Yeah, but the girl that he got the date with was so turned off and creeped out by him instantly upon meeting him that she told the show coordinator that she could not go on a date with him.
Wow.
Like, the amount of sixth sense that you have to be on the dating game and then be so creeped out by them that you're like, no, I absolutely cannot be alone with this person.
I mean, good for her that she knew that instinct.
Oh, 100%. It's still crazy, though.
It is. Yeah, 100%.
The worst part is, even the other contestants on the show thought he was creepy.
When the whole show thinks you're creepy, that's problematic.
Yeah, maybe you should take that as a sign. But no, I guess he was saying things like, I always get the girl. And I haven't watched the clips. I need to. I'm a little too creeped out to watch them still. But everything he says is like very lewd and sexual. And the way that he's like expressing himself, well, some people find it charming. Some people see right through it and they're like, oh no.
Ew.
Yeah.
That
no,
does
thank
not
you.
sound great.
It's weird. It's real weird. So let's get into the dating game killer, aka, because I haven't even said his name yet. Like, how unlike it is it me that I call a killer by their moniker more than their name. Anyways,
Not very often.
this killer is Rodney Alcala. So Rodney was born in, San Antonio.
Hey.
In 1940.
I mean, that's kind of bad to to be excited that a serial killer is born
call
in.
out San Antonio. So he was born in San Antonio, 1943, until his entire family moved to Mexico in 1951. I guess his grandmother was getting older and wanted to pass away where she was from, so the entire family moved to Mexico.
Does it say what part of Mexico?
No, just Mexico.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure it says it somewhere, but it just said they moved. Everything I heard and saw said they just moved to Mexico, and I was like, okay. So when Rodney was 11, his grandmother, whom they had moved to Mexico for, who Rodney was very close with, passed away.
Aw.
Yeah, because that same year, his father also abandoned the family.
Oh,
Just
okay.
fucking up and left.
Solid. Okay.
Yeah. And I want to say Rodney was like, was either like one of 5, I want to say. Yeah, just up and left the family while they're in Mexico.
That's a dick move.
Yeah, I was like, shit, okay. I mean, losing your grandma who you're very close to is traumatizing enough, but then your dad to just be like, deuces, I'm out. Like, what? What do you mean?
That's insane. That's absolutely insane.
So not too long after that, his mother ended up moving to Los Angeles. Rodney, not wanting to like deal with that, really joined the army at 17.
Wow.
Which is a whole crazy thing. But then he was discharged in 1964 after a nervous breakdown. This guy went AWOL, walked from Fort Bragg in North Carolina to his mother's house in LA. Like, he walked, he hitchhiked, but he went all the way from Fort Bragg, North Carolina to his mom's house in LA.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is to go all the way from the East Coast to the West.
Yeah, so after this, clearly he was put into a mental hospital so they could assess him and diagnose him and all of that good stuff. And they ended up diagnosing Rodney with antisocial personality disorder. And he was discharged from the army.
So essentially they called him a sociopath.
Early on, yeah.
Yeah.
But even the army was like, okay, you're done, bye. And let him go.
Move by the army.
Yeah, but the routine that we are going to see with Rodney is he always ends up back at his mom's house. Which ironically is where he gets arrested at.
Okay. Interesting.
But which again, this whole thing is so crazy. Because he might have like narcissistic tendencies or be a sociopath. Like, we really can't say now. But like, dude had an IQ of 160.
Smart man.
Yeah, he's up there. Like, he's charismatic. I don't necessarily think he's attractive based off of pictures. But people that I've listened to other podcasts of, they're like, yeah, no, I could see the charisma. He creeps me out immediately, but other people see it. Like, this guy, which we'll get to the point in time when he does this guy was so charismatic that not only did he attend UCLA, but he got into NYU to be a film student under Roman Polanski and had registered for classes like 2 weeks before. This is a really coveted spot. Like, you're working with the now infamous Norman Polanski. And you just showed up out of the blue and they were like, yeah, that's fine.
That's wild.
Like, I think I'm pretty good at talking my way into situations, but that is impressive.
That's a whole other level.
That's a whole other level that I don't want to necessarily say I aspire to be, but I like that part of the thinking. So Rodney's first known crime happened in 1968. And I'm going to warn people now, a lot of his crimes are against children. I know you hear the dating game and assume they're going to be adult women. Unfortunately, most of his crimes are against children, which is awful, but just if you can't handle that now, just a forewarn. We'll see you next week. Love you. Bye. But now let's get into his victims.
Can I leave? Does that excuse me?
No. Absolutely not. Anyways.
I don't. Fuck. Okay.
So Alcala had lured 8-year-old Tally Shapiro into his car in Hollywood. Tally had been living with her parents at the same hotel that Alcala was living into. And even though she was told not to, she liked to wake up early for school and walk to school. It was her little thing that she liked to do, but she was 8 years old. So Alcala pulled up next to her and was like, hey, I'll give you a ride to school. I just have something like really cool to show you in the car, and I'll give you a ride to school. So Tally, like, recognizing him from where they live, like all that good stuff, is like, oh, okay, and gets in his car. Rodney ends up driving back to the hotel, saying he has something really cool to show her in his room, gets Tally into the room, and that is when he ends up beating and sexually assaulting Tally.
Oh, that poor baby.
Yeah. So luckily nothing else happened because a bystander happened to be seeing the conversation between Tally and Alcala and ended up following them back to the hotel and calling police from there. So the only reason this little 8-year-old girl wasn't killed by this piece of shit is because some amazing bystander was there to make sure she was safe.
Oh, that's good. We need more people like that in the world.
Oh, 100%. I do that all the time. If I see something weird going on, I'll like sit and wait. And if something weird happens from there, I will follow people unapologetically. So, being the little bitch ass that he is, as soon as he started to get figured out by police, he fled to the East Coast. This is when he started going to NYU on that film degree and lived under the alias John Berger.
Okay.
So, mind you, this entire time he is on the East Coast, he is being hunted by the LAPD for this assault on this child.
Oh, goodness.
LAPD fucked up a ton of shit, but this one they were actually pretty diligent on, surprisingly.
Well, that's good. Good to know that they're going to go after a child rapist.
Yeah. He was also put on the FBI's most wanted list.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So now it's 1971. So everything with Telly happened in 1968. We're now in 1971, so that's 3 years later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's 3 years later. Alcala ends up working at a summer camp type thing. Mm-hmm. You know, in between his time as a film student. And there are 2 girls from the camp that walk to the post office to mail a letter home. And on the wall, as you do, because it is a federal building, they saw the FBI most wanted list. And they go, wow, that looks a lot like my camp counselor. So then they tell the director of the camp. 2 of the counselors go down there. And they go, that's weird. That looks just like John Berger, but on there it says his name is Rodney Alcala.
Oh.
Yeah. So he ends up getting caught there because the director calls the police. They come and get him. They extradite him to California. He goes on trial. And he ends up just getting charged with child molestation. Not attempt to murder, not kidnapping, because the family refused to let Tally testify and ended up moving to Mexico to take her away from the situation.
Wow.
I know. It's ridiculous. It's, again, one of those things that happens with serial killers where they will kill, they'll get away with it, or like get close to killing, you know, like the real start of the root of the problem. And then get away with it and go, well, fuck, I got away with it. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want because I'm invincible.
Yeah, I mean, you see that pattern a lot. I mean, there's been a bunch of serial killers like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer, just to name a few, who literally had people in their car, either dead or, you know, just tucked away in their car.
Gacy had them full on under the floorboards where the police were standing.
Exactly, yeah. And, I mean, they'd still get away with it. Like, they would just be like, a slap on the wrist and just be like, oh, slow down, or...
No, don't do that. And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So because of the fact that he only got charged with child molestation, Tally wasn't there to tell her truth. He only served 34 months before he was released on parole.
That's it?
For raping and almost murdering an 8-year-old girl.
Wow.
At the hotel she lived at.
That's horrible.
Oh, it gets worse.
Oh, yay.
So after his release, he continued these attacks, and the way he would do it was pretending to be a photographer to lure people in. Or if he was trying to get a younger victim, lure them in by like looking at pictures. It was one of the two, but photography was always heavily involved because he would take pictures of his victims after.
Gross.
And authorities believed he killed between 8 and 130 victims, which feels like a big range.
That is a very big range. From 8, a single digit, to 130.
Yeah.
That is now triple digits.
He's just one of those killers where he didn't say shit and would never admit to other things, but they have tied other cases to him that happened in the same way and B around the same time that he would have been in LA or New York or the surrounding areas. It's that whole thing with serial killers where they tie where they have been in an area and go, oh, he was here at this time and that's why the murders were happening here. Or, oh, he was here at the time, that's why the murders were happening there.
Oh, so they were just trying to connect the dots to their open murders.
Exactly. So let's go over some of his notable victims that people talk about. So in 1971, we had a flight attendant named Cornelia Crilly. And I really like the name Cornelia. I know it's an old name.
It is an old name, but I mean, it is pretty.
I like it. What would be a shortening of Cornelia? Like, what would be a nickname for Cornelia?
Probably like Connie or something.
Ooh, yeah, probably. Let's see. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's see what they come up with. Nellie, Cora, Leah, Corey, Coco.
Coco?
Yeah, those aren't awful, but I do like the name Cornelia. I wouldn't name my child Cornelia, but I do appreciate the name. So back to the horrific parts of this. Cornelia Crilly was a flight attendant who was found strangled in her New York apartment. And this happened in 1971. The worst part is this is right before he went to go work at the summer camp.
Oh, okay.
Because he was caught in 1971 going to the summer camp. That is also when he killed Cornelia. So now we're in 1977. Ellen Hoover, who is her family has a ton of money. She's considered a socialite in Hollywood. Her father owns a nightclub in Hollywood. She lives in New York. She's this big time girl. She ends up missing. The family finds out that there's no ransom. It's going on and on and on. But all the police and all the family assumed that she was kidnapped for ransom because of her family's money. And when no ransom note came, they started to panic. And it was eventually connected that Alcala had killed her and left her for dead.
Wow.
Then we're in 1979 with the case that finally caught Alcala. This was Robin Samso. She was a 12-year-old girl.
12? Wow.
Yeah, all of his cases were pretty young. I don't remember the exact ages, but I want to say the youngest that he abducted was like 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awful. There's the reason I didn't cover all of the victims, which I know I should pay more homage to the victims. But with them being such young victims, I wanted to bring attention to this case. But with them being such young victims, I was at a point where I'm like, I cannot.
I mean, that's already like the ones that we have gone through are a lot to deal with and like to handle mentally. So to like continuously go through and hear each one's age, where I'm sure, like you said, the oldest was probably like 20 and the youngest is what, like that 8-year-old that he abducted. So you can only imagine the ages that range from 8 to 20 or 21, whatever like that. So, I mean, it's understandable. And I mean, we do give all of our respects to the victims and the victims' families. But it's just kind of, I get it, where it's just a little hard to like go through all of that.
Yeah, especially since Alcala would take pictures of his victims before he had sexually assaulted them, sexually assaulted all his victims. He would choke his victims. That's how he would kill them. He didn't use guns. He didn't stab them. He used carrots to kill them, which, if you don't know, is a process. It's not just like an instant thing that happens. So what Rodney would do is he would essentially choke them out until they passed out. But from there, he would let them come to, he would rape them again, and then he would choke them again. It was a whole process that he did. It wasn't just like abduct, rape, kill. It was like over and over of bringing them back to, putting them under, assault, before he finally killed them.
Yeah, that's horrible.
So then we get to Robin Samso in 1979. Again, she's 12 years old. She's abducted while she's riding a bike to her ballet class.
Oh,
like, how much more innocent do you get than a child riding a bike to a ballet class?
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, so finally, he was caught for this because Samso ended up getting away. She was able to get people to call police, and that's when they finally caught Rodney. He was finally found guilty in 1980, but the convictions were overruled twice because of procedural error.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I don't know how things keep working out in his favor, but they did.
That's one lucky son of a bitch.
But luckily, in 1980, he finally was found guilty. He had a third trial in 2010 where he represented himself, which we know from experience, especially for serial killers, never go well.
No, never goes well.
Even Bundy, who had legal experience, ended up representing himself and
he fucked himself over.
Which, again, he should have. But he represented himself, and it was like, oh, there's the narcissist. I see. Luckily, this is not one of those prisoners that gets married while in prison, because, FYI, I can't fucking stand that. When people are like, oh my god, that serial killer, he's like so hot, and I have to write him right away. I don't care if it's Rodney Alcala. I don't care if it's Bundy. I don't care if it's, who did we just have recently that did that? Stinky Pants Ramirez. Richard Ramirez.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if it's Richard Ramirez. I don't even fucking care if it's Dee Dee Blanchard, because that's how she ended up finding her first husband. I'm sorry. It's weird. If your person is convicted of something having to do with murder, especially serial murder,
and especially children,
it's weird. Yeah, I don't know why I have to say that, but luckily Rodney Alcala is not a part of that group.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thank God. But yeah, with this 2010 trial, he cross-examined himself in the third person. And then to like prove his point, played clips of the dating game.
What?
Yeah, I know. But the jury still sentenced him to death. I'm laughing because I'm nervous, because this is a weird case. They sentenced him to death. But it's California, so people really don't do that here.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So he ended up dying of natural causes in prison in 2021 at 77 years old.
That wasn't that long ago.
I know. I was listening to it. I was like, oh shit, are you for real life right now? Yeah, but
it's weird. It's weird when you hear that, like, some of the serial killers that, like, were from the 70s, 80s, and they die in prison, and, like, just a few years ago. Like, obviously some of the bigger ones we've known have been dead for a while.
But when they get sentenced to death, And then it's like, oh, they died of natural causes in prison. It's like, what prison were they in? Where were they at? Because in case you don't know, the prison system's different. It's like a states' rights thing is to decide on death penalty and all of that good stuff.
And whether they go through with the execution.
Yep. So it just depends on the state that they are found guilty in on if they will actually be executed by the state or just be a drain on taxes.
Yep. Basically.
That was awful, but I had to say it.
I mean, it's accurate, so.
I mean, like, if you okay, here's my thing. Especially with people who have been shown to have behavior of molestation and assault. It's like they get released on probation for good behavior. Yeah, no shit, they were on good behavior. They had no one to abuse in prison.
Yeah.
What do you mean they get off on good behavior? They clearly hate women, and there's no women in their prison.
Yeah. I think I also find it odd, especially for him, that he died of natural causes and wasn't like, I don't know, maybe he was put in, a more protective state because of who he was.
Oh, because of the thing with the children? Yeah, you would think he would have been killed, but no, I was also surprised that it was natural causes, knowing most of his victims are young.
Yeah, because I mean, anyone who knows the prison system knows that prisoners have a code of conduct of their own, and anyone who basically fucks with children, they are immediately like either beaten to death, they are emasculated a lot of the times, just
It's
different things.
Thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing where like they will go after pedophiles and they will go after child molesters and things like that, because they have their own code of conduct. Like, okay, you want to mess with an adult, fine. Some even have issues where if you want to mess with a woman, that's crossing a line also. Not all prisoners have that moral.
All of his were women and most of them were children. Like, yeah, I saw natural causes and I was like, oh shit, okay. So yeah, they must have had him in like some high security, maybe by himself type thing, because there's no way. Yeah. There's no way. But yeah, so that was Rodney Alcala, the dating game killer. If you haven't watched Anna Kendrick's directorial debut with this, it's pretty good. I suggest it. I suggest you listen to us and then you go watch that movie, because it's pretty good, and now you have more of a time frame of everything that happens, because it can be a little overwhelming in that movie.
Yeah, that's interesting. So was he nicknamed the dating game killer because he played like his clips or whatever?
So that, and just the fact that he had gone on the dating game after killing all these people. Like, he went on the dating game after he had been on the FBI's most wanted list, after he was convicted with child molestation, after he had killed a couple of women, and then he went on the dating game. Like, the amount of like big baldness you have to be like, yeah, I can get away with this.
Well, thanks, Jessica, for terrifying us with that wonderful story.
You're welcome. You know how much I love, quote unquote, love my serial killers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was a good one. Thanks for that. At least we don't have to worry about someone like him in the world anymore.
You're welcome.
Are you ready for your creepy fact?
No, but you're gonna be here to fucking tell it to me anyways, so I might as well just get over it.
You bet I am. All right, let me bring one up. Are you ready?
No, but I guess here the fuck we go, so.
I need to see your reaction on this one. The bacterial mix in our belly buttons is almost as unique as our fingerprints.
Why?
I don't know.
I have so many questions. They all start with why.
That's all I got.
What do you mean? Bitch, you can't. You have so little follow-up information for these, and I have so many questions.
That's the point.
Why? Why do you do this to me? I thought you loved me. Now I guess you hate me, but here the fuck we are. Why?
You're stuck with me. 15 years later, you're stuck with me.
What does it mean? What does it mean? Jesus fucking Christ. All right, well, if you like whatever the fuck this is, be sure to head over to Instagram. Be sure to like and follow all the things. Remember, if you do that and then send us your screenshot, you'll get a shout out. Like, how fucking cool is that? Also, just go ahead and, like, give us your one coffee milk substitution money and go ahead and give us, like, $3 a month on Patreon. So that way we can continue to give you this fucking psychotic ass podcast. And with that, don't think too hard about like what's getting in your belly button, because apparently it's real gross. Bye.
Bye.